What's going on, guys? I wanted to talk about some surprising teams this year. Most of these teams did better than they were expected to do, so I will be listing the 10 most surprising teams on the year. Now, before I get into this video, here's a quick reminder to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, because we post daily college football videos. But without further ado, let's start off with looking at the 10 most surprising teams on the season, and at my number 10 spot, I have the Texas Longhorns. The 9 spots above Texas was pretty clear and definitely deserved to be on the list, but Texas, although they were expected to be good, I think they really overexceeded expectations on the year, starting the year off with a double-digit win at Alabama, which is possibly the best win of the season. And as of now, they are ranked 7th in the college football playoff rankings with an 11-1 record. Now, the Texas is back meme has been overused a lot, but no matter if you want to say Texas is back or if they aren't back, you can't deny this is one of Texas's greatest seasons in a while. And they have a pretty talented team, with a pretty good defense and quarterback on the team, Quinn Ewers. We also just got to see one of the most hyped up college football players play recently, as Arch Manning for the Texas Longhorns played the fourth quarter against Texas Tech. So if you're a Texas fan, you have to be excited for the future of this team, but you guys should hope Arch Manning doesn't transfer out. Now at number 9, I got New Mexico State. This New Mexico State team came into the season projected to win 5 games, and now they have finished their season with a 10-3 record, and they will be playing in the Conference USA Championship game. They played a longer season, playing 13 games, and they also happened to beat Auburn after getting paid $1.85 million to not just beat Auburn, but absolutely destroy Auburn. This was New Mexico State's first 10-win season since 1960, and it was their second ever 10-win season. And then that Auburn team that they just beat went on to almost beat a top 10 ranked Alabama team in the Iron Bowl. College football gets out of hand sometimes, but the season the New Mexico State Aggies put together is one to remember. And they are now with the 8-game winning streak headed into the Conference USA Championship game against undefeated Liberty, a very underrated game. The Conference USA Championship game should be a fun one. Now for my number 8 team, I got West Virginia. I wouldn't have had West Virginia on here until I noticed how low their over-under to start the season was. They were projected to win around 4 to 5 games, but they are now 8-4 and going into a bowl game, and this is their first 8-win season since 2018. And West Virginia hasn't really been talked about this year. I've heard a lot of talk about Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas, and Oklahoma, all the other Big 12 teams that have been pretty good this year. But this West Virginia team has had a pretty good season. We also got to remember, one of their 4 losses came to Penn State too, and their first 5 games of the season they struggled to score points, outside their win against an FCS school. But ever since their first 5 games, West Virginia has been scoring 30 to 40 points consistently on offense. Their defense has definitely been a problem as they give up 59 points to Oklahoma, and they give up 40 plus points to Houston and Oklahoma State, which were their other 2 losses on the season. But regardless of the points they've given up, they are now 8-4, and their quarterback Garrett Green has been solid. But anyways, I don't really know much about this West Virginia team, and I haven't watched them hardly at all this year because I kind of forgot about them. But I realized West Virginia has actually been a pretty solid team, so I wanted to give them some recognition. A team that I do know a little bit more about, and a lot of people have had their eyes on, is Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State started the year off kind of rough, with a 26-point loss to South Alabama, and a loss to Iowa State to start the year 2-2. I didn't even figure this team would make a bowl game, let alone to finish the season 9-3 and have a shot at beating Texas and winning the Big 12 championship game. Ollie Gordon is a spectacular running back, and if this team was a little better and the team wasn't slow to start the year, Ollie Gordon would probably be in the Heisman race. Ollie Gordon is only a sophomore. He had back-to-back weeks where he ran for over 250 yards in back-to-back games. I believe the only other Oklahoma State running back to do that was the legendary Barry Sanders. But outside of Ollie Gordon, I don't know how this team would be without him. They'd probably struggle a little bit more, but they do have a pretty decent pass game as well. Their offense has just been all around decent. But they've been really inconsistent lately with a 45-3 loss to UCF, and they almost lost to BYU, and they had to come back from being down double digits against BYU and win in overtime. But they did beat Oklahoma, so if Oklahoma State plays a complete game, they're a pretty scary team. They just play very worrisome sometimes, and they aren't very consistent. But regardless of being inconsistent, they are 7-1 in their last 8 games. So give props to this Oklahoma State team. I don't think a lot of people expected this season out of them, and they were only projected to win around 6 or 7 games coming into the 2023 season. For my number 6 team, I got NC State. NC State slowly snuck back into the top 25, winning their last 5 games in a row to end the season, beating Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina after they started the season 4-3. I figured they would finish like something like 6-6 or 7-5, being that they still had some tough games coming up. But let's be honest, they have really been on a roll lately. They have some good wins too. And it's too bad we didn't get to see NC State versus Florida State, because that could have been a game and NC State could have given Florida State a run for their money. NC State came into the 2023 season only projected to win around 6 or 7 games. But they really put together a better season than people expected. One of the most improved teams this year for sure. So props to NC State, and they will probably get a decent bowl game too. Now for my number 5 team, I got Washington. Nobody in the world expected Washington to go undefeated this year. They are the first team to go undefeated in the Pac-12 since 2010. The Oregon Ducks did it in 2010. And I do believe in 2010 it was actually called the Pac-10 because there were only 10 teams. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think I am right. But this Washington team continues to win close games after close games. And they have a lot of fight in this team. Michael Penix Jr. is a special player. Coming into the season, I didn't think anybody expected the Pac-12 to make the playoffs, let alone Washington being on top of the conference and undefeated. They went undefeated in a very improved conference, and whether you want to discredit their wins or not, because of how much they've underperformed, you have to absolutely give credit for winning all those games, with some of the conditions they were in. And don't forget, they beat the 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks. The rematch between them this weekend is going to be great, and I can't wait. But Kalen DeBoer has done a really good job of this program, and he should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year for everything he has done for this team. For my number 4 team, I got Northwestern. Now I know Northwestern only went 7-5. It might not be super impressive. The Big Ten is a really bad conference outside of the Big Three of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And I know Northwestern didn't have a tough schedule at all, as they avoided Michigan and Penn State, and they got destroyed when playing Penn State. But I don't care if Northwestern played absolute cupcakes all year or not. Actually, they did play Duke out of the conference, so that makes their schedule a little bit better. But like I was saying, this Northwestern team went 7-5. They over-exceeded their expectations on the year. Last year they won 1 game on the season, and their only win was week 1. But now they're 7-5 going into a bowl game. Coming into the season, they were only projected to win around 3 to 4 games. So really good job to Northwestern for the season they had, winning 3 in a row to end the season. But next year it is going to get tougher for them, with more good teams joining the Big Ten. So they won't play bad schedules anymore. We'll see what Northwestern can do moving forward. For my number 3 team, I got James Madison. I had to add James Madison on this list just because of how big of a step they took from the FCS, and give props to the NCAA for finally letting them in a bowl game. But they only did let them in a bowl game because other teams couldn't win games. But that's beside the point. This James Madison team went 11-1. They should be playing in the Sun Belt Conference Championship, but unfortunately they can't because of the dumb rules that FCS schools have in moving up to the FBS, where your season basically doesn't matter the first 2 years. But anyways, I'm excited to see James Madison to play in a bowl game. They've had a really solid defense this year, and they actually have a win over a Power 5 school, Virginia. Now I know Virginia has nothing great, but it's still impressive, because they definitely had a good season, better than people expected. They were also pretty good last year, going 8-3, but this season they had a chance to finish undefeated, so it's another step up. And their over-under to start the year was only 7.5, so they were only projected to win around 7 to 8 games. Also, shout out to Liberty for the 12-0 season they put together. I almost added them to the list, but I didn't want to add another group of 5 school. And they are in a pretty bad conference, so I did give the edge to James Madison, because a lot of more people are talking about them. But I wouldn't mind doing a video on Liberty, because they don't get talked about enough. And also shout out to Jayville State, because they are also going to be in a bowl game after coming up from the FCS. Now, for my second team, I got Missouri. Now, the last 2 teams I have on this list are by far the most surprising, and Missouri is one of them. But any one of these 2 teams could have the number 1 spot, but I do have Missouri at 2, and I'll get to my number 1 in a second. But let's start off with saying absolutely nobody in the world could tell me you expected Missouri to finish the season in the top 10 with a straight face. They were near the bottom of the SEC in the preseason, and now they're only behind Alabama and Georgia, and they will be playing in a New Year's Six Bowl. Very impressive season for the Missouri Tigers. Quarterback Brady Cook has definitely been cooking, so he's been a huge factor to this team's success. And also, let's not ignore the rushing attack they've had all year with their offense rolling. And for my number 1 team, I got Arizona. I don't think anybody can argue this, that Arizona hasn't been the hottest team all year. I think it was only right to have Arizona at number 1 because of the turnaround they've had. In 2020, they won 0 games. In 2021, they won 1 game. Now, 2020, I know that was the COVID season, so they didn't play many games. But in 2021, they went 1-11. And then in 2022, which was last year, they actually did win 5 games. But this year has been a massive step up. And this year was a tough start for Arizona with the loss to Mississippi State. And they only beat a trash Stanford team by 1 point to start the year. Then they lost 2 in a row. It seemed like this team was going to be similar to last year, but ever since those couple losses, they've looked like one of the best teams in the country. They are now on a 6-game winning streak, with double-digit wins against UCLA and Utah, and they have a win against an Oregon State team who's been really good this year. Arizona gets better every week, and Oregon and Washington should be lucky you didn't have to play this team when they were hot and playing their best football, because I really believe this Arizona team has improved a lot throughout the year. And it shows with the quarterback Noah Fajita, who's getting better and better every single week since taking the starting spot. Freshman Noah Fajita is not talked about enough, and he didn't start until almost halfway through the season. When you talk about Jalen Milroe and how good of a quarterback he is for a freshman, you also have to have Noah Fajita in the picture. Because the dude is one of the most underrated guys in college football. He does not get talked about enough. The quarterback is a huge reason for this team's turnaround. His completion percentage is impressive. He's only a freshman and he's completing 73.6% of his passes on the season. And he's also had games where he's thrown for over 250 passing yards, and just last week he had over 500 passing yards against Arizona State. This Arizona team has a really bright future. I could see them in their 12-team playoff in 2024. And don't be surprised, they might win the Big 12 next year. But anyways, that is going to do it for the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, because we post daily college football videos. But that's it, guys, and peace out.